Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. At Scout, we're doing things differently with our focus on legendary service and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other on to do higher quality work while keeping the clients at the center. Come see how it feels to work with a small group of committed brokers with the shared goal of upping their game. For more info, please contact Jennifer Nelson, founder and owner of Scout, 206-227-7966, or jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. Hello, folks. Jennifer Nelson here from the Scout School and Pocket Hours podcast. So excited to have you all tune in to Pocket Hours for a great interview with the one and only Henry Shim. Henry has been in the business for over 18 years and has developed over the years quite a following of clients. He does his business with such professionalism and goes out of his way to serve his clients. He talks in this interview about bringing with him a wealth of knowledge of homes, costs of remodel, kind of talking people out of homes, trying to make sure they're making the best purchase. But he also talks about the human element and taking such incredibly good care of his clients. And as a result, Henry is quite successful. Speaking of that, Henry is very well respected in our industry, and he is in the top 1% of all brokers in Washington state. He's killing it, folks, in this business. And as a result, I'm very excited for you to tune in and hear some of the awesome nuggets that he has for us in this episode. Welcome, Henry Shim.
Hey, Henry, thank you so much for being on Pocket Hours. You are a brave soul for being our first interviewee. So I really appreciate you taking the time to do this today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to see where this goes.
Okay, here we go. First of all, huge congratulations to you for an amazing year. And it's only April, whatever it is right now. You are killing it. Every time I turn around on social media, there's a new listing for Henry. There's buyers that beat out other buyers. There's a lot of activity going on in your world. So huge congratulations on your success.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, but bigger than this success, I want to know a little bit about becoming a father. So give us a little story about Theo coming into the world.
Yeah, that was, obviously we're in the COVID world still, or the last parts of it. And about 2 years ago, I got married to my wife, Julia, and we tried to get married in April 25th. So it's coming on actually our 2 years now, of legally being married. Our first wedding got canceled in Hawaii. And so we tried to push it back to September locally at an outdoor venue. And that got canceled as well. But in that interim time, we actually got married on April 25th a couple years ago. And we actually found out in June that we were pregnant with Theo. And so we actually did a little reveal at our fake wedding in September because they actually wouldn't let us have a full wedding, but they allowed us to have wedding photos. And so being a new daddy is a little over 13 months now. And I mean, just amazing. It's one of those things where I honestly think that he helped me out a lot in finding, life-work balance. I was kind of like you, Jennifer. I was all about work and being successful and helping friends and family and clients out. And I'd say my average work week was probably 60 to 80 hours a week. In the summertime, when it was really go time, I'd do 80 to 100, which sounds crazy, but it would be, 15-hour days, 7 days a week. And some days I'd get 2-3 hours of sleep, literally work. And when Theo came along, he actually made me change my perspective. I had to put family first. And during that whole time, Julia let me be a professional, let me make my money and work and help clients and friends out. And that was great. And there was a lot of sacrifice on her end. But once Theo came, I knew that I needed to be a dad. I needed to be a father. I needed to be a husband and family, what I always strive to have and want and be. And so I think last year was my most successful year. And I probably worked less than I had in any year in the last 5, 6, 7 years.
Love it.
And it's crazy to say that because, again, we did 50 closings last year, and I worked less last year than I did any other year, and I was more successful. I just had to get more efficient. I had to be more present in my family's life, and that meant, no time to waste when I was working. And so efficiency worked really well, and we still got great deals. We still did, awesome listings. I mean, last year was probably the most amount of listings I did. And those are time consuming on the front end, but easier on the back end versus home buyers in this market take so
Yeah.
much time. So it was a good balance last year. And honestly think, I mean, he helped me find that balance, which probably helped me with my health as well too. So thankful for so many different things, not only having a son and a wife, but having my health as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's been super fun to watch you via social media. There's just Theo everywhere, which is exactly how it should be. I love getting to see him and meet him in a way electronically. I can't wait to meet him in person.
Yeah.
I have to tease you for a minute. If you remember a couple of years ago, no, it had to be last year, you were on a panel that I was leading the discussion for. And we were talking somehow, real estate agents on this panel, somehow it went to you being a father. And you said something to the effect of, yeah, it was easy peasy for my wife. And all the mothers in the group just took this huge deep breath and sort of were like, did he just say easy peasy? And I'm sure it was easy for your wife, but we had to tease you as the new father for calling childbirth easy. So congrats again. Congrats on being a dad.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Thank
Henry,
you.
tell me a little bit about your previous life before being a realtor. What'd you do before?
I actually jumped into real estate right after I graduated from the University of Washington in 2004. I actually got licensed in 2003 while I was still going to school, but I'd pushed so many extra credits through Running Start in high school that my last year of college was really easy. I think I took 3 classes, one class, or
Okay.
yeah. And so I had fun, but I got my real estate license, and I actually got my first job in commercial real estate in multifamily through a connection I made in the fraternity I was in. Our fraternity cook was probably making at that time 40,000 a year, and he was, in his 50s, but he was a millionaire. He literally bought real estate and made a boatload of money, and he was just happy being a fraternity cook. And he would always ask me, Henry, what are you doing after college? What are you doing after college? I was like, oh, I'm probably going to go to law school. He's like, well, this went on for a year and a half, 2 years. And my senior year, he was like, Henry, I really want you to meet my real estate. He's helped me buy so many apartment buildings and done really well for me. And I could retire right now if I wanted to. And I think it could be a perfect job for you. I ended up meeting this guy. He was actually in my fraternity, just 6 years, 7 years older than me. And he basically said, I've never had anyone referred to me by Steve, and you're the first. And so we don't even need to do this interview. He has made me a lot of money. He is a good guy. He's a great judge of character. And if you want this job, it's yours. And so that's when I got licensed, did the multifamily thing. It was really fun. Right out of college making, 50, 60K. And I was like, this is amazing. Now that's not going to get you, room and board right now. But back then it was a lot of money, especially just graduating from college. But the market tanked in 2008, 9, 10, depending on who you talk to. And I had clients that had asset sheets, $50 million. They had more cash than I could see. They owned office buildings in downtown Seattle. I'd sold them 2, 3, 4 apartment buildings. And they just, every single one of them stopped when the market slowed down, the correction happened, the crash, whatever you want to call it. And at that point, my parents, my brother said, hey, you gave real estate a shot, go get a real job. My brother was he's a tech superstar, and he could have gotten me a job anywhere. He said, hey, I'll get you 50 base, you make 50 in commissions, you might get some RSUs, health benefits, all the stuff you don't have right now. And I really didn't want to leave real estate. I loved it. It was so much fun. And I did a couple residential deals, but it was mostly commercial apartment buildings, but I loved doing it. And so what I did was I connected with a friend of mine who was selling and flipping houses. He actually started his own office, and he wanted me to be the designated broker of it, but I had a little bit too much loyalty to my previous broker. And so I stayed there a little longer than I probably should have. But when I did make the switch over, I started buying homes with him, learning what he was doing, the ins and outs. And he was doing a lot of stuff in the South End. I did more of the North End, Seattle, Lake City, Meadowbrook, stuff that I was familiar with because he was originally from the South End. And I had deals where I made 5K. I had deals where I made 40K, 70K. But that's where I really learned about real estate. I honestly can say that I did I've owned 22 homes, and I remodeled them, ones that added bathrooms, finished out basements, added staircases, changed out plumbing, wiring, new kitchens, bathrooms, all that stuff. And that's really when I said, this is what real estate is. It's easy to crunch numbers. It's hard to find clients. It's hard to know what you're actually talking about. But through those 22 homes that I owned and remodeled and rented out, flipped and sold, I know what it costs to remodel a kitchen and rewire a house and add a new roof and change out windows, stuff like that. And so that's a long, convoluted way of saying I've always actually been in real estate since I graduated college, but I'm in residential. I think I'm going to actually list a fourplex here soon in West Seattle, but it's one of those things where real estate has always been so interesting to me. It's been so fun. And I mean, my client base, you and me, Jennifer, have talked to you on the phone, in person. I work with mostly all friends and some referrals. And literally, we have the best job and career in the world. I get to hang out with my friends. We get to grab a beer after touring houses. We get to go have dinners. I get to meet kids. I've had friends where they weren't pregnant while we were looking. They got pregnant, and we had a long journey. And I met their kid after they were born. And so, what a blessing to have the careers that we have. And so, I feel really fortunate to have gone kind of full circle now, and be where I'm at. So, it's always been real estate since college, but it'll probably always be real estate afterwards.
That's amazing. There's not too many people that can say that. A lot of people come to real estate, I mean, from a variety of ways, right? Like, oh, I used to be a lawyer, or I used to sell shoes, or I used to whatever, and finally got into real estate. You're sort of right out of the chute. You're a realtor. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me just a little bit more. You hit on something that I think is important for our listeners to hear from you, is that one of the values that you bring to the table is your expertise in being able to say, hey, buyer, as we walk through this house, if you remodel this kitchen, you're looking at, X number of dollars to do that. Or here's an idea for changing this house to make it better. Tell us a little bit more about that value you bring.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think that is what has differentiated me from a lot of real estate brokers. And every broker has their charm, every broker has their skill set, every broker, is great in their own way. I think where I have a bit of cachet is because of that experience. I can go into a house, and I mean, I always tell people, and this is kind of, my catchphrase for every person, is that your job, if you're a buyer, is to fall in love with that home. My job as your real estate broker is to teach you and tell you why you shouldn't buy this home. At the end of that conversation and that walkthrough of that home, if you still love it after I told you it needs a new kitchen, it needs a new water heater, it needs a new roof, new windows, you know what those costs are, then absolutely, let's write the offer up. But if you're saying, hey, I can pay list price, I can pay more for it, but I don't have the liquidity to do those remodels to make this safe for my family, for myself, whatever it is, well, that's not the right house for you. And so I think that knowledge has kind of set me apart from a lot of people. And honestly, I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. When I was in commercial real estate, I was running numbers, and that's easy. You look for a cap rate, you see a value, there you go. It makes sense or doesn't make sense. It's really dollars and cents. When it comes to single family homes, I think that so much of the buying process is emotional for the buyer, the prospective buyer. And I can say I love this home too. Oh, it's beautiful. It's a great neighborhood. It's close to this and that. But if it's a home that needs work and they don't know it needs work, and I don't know that it needs work, that's not fair to the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
They need that expertise. They need that education. And so I've had so many clients where they're like, oh, I love this house. I love this house. And then we'll do a walkthrough of it. And they're like, well, Henry, I thought I loved this house. I can't afford to buy this house. I don't want to buy this house. And, in this market, you see a lot of flips out there too. And, those people are making great money. Good for them. But a lot of it is lipstick on a pig. It's Band-Aids. It's look good enough. Let's just get it sold and make our money. And, even when I was flipping homes, I made sure, because I knew I was going to be a forever agent, that my stuff was quality. I spent the time and the money and, changing out a furnace. I could probably, taped it together and made it work and passed inspection. But I was like, no, it needs a new furnace. Let's put one in. And that probably cost me money, but the integrity part of it is something that I'm steadfast about even to this day. And so I think that knowledge goes so far. That
Mm-hmm.
knowledge is so helpful to a first-time buyer, or I've had clients that that have helped. One of my friends, I think he's bought and sold 6 properties for me, 7 properties for me, and every time we walk through it and say, this makes sense, it doesn't make sense. This is what it pencils out as a rental. This is what it makes sense as your home. Hey, what kind of remodel do you want to do? What's your budget? Let's talk about it, and I'll tell you what you can get done. And so I think that's just that extra layer that I provide, and I think people love it. That's honestly, I don't think I would be able to help friends, parents, friends, bosses, past clients, their acquaintances or their girlfriends or boyfriends or husbands or wives if I didn't have that wherewithal to walk them through that process. Because again, whether you're buying a $300,000 condo for your first home or your 10th home that's $3 million, you're working with a professional and you want them to know what they're doing and what they're actually talking about makes sense. And I might have to go walk around a word, a conversation 10, 12, 15 times till they get it. But again, they expect that. They need that. They want that. And so I think that's really, really helped me kind of excel over the last 18 years to be where I'm at now.
That's awesome. A couple things you said. I love that you have said twice now, numbers. The numbers part's easy. And I know that some of our listeners will be like, wow, not me. So you also bring that to the table. That's great. And then the other thing you hit on was when you first started, you didn't know what you were doing. And so I want to ask you a couple questions around the listeners that are tuning in that are just new in real estate. We're a couple years in, or we just got our license, and they're saying, Henry, what advice would you give me as a brand new agent listening in on this call?
Yeah, that is a great, great question. And I actually have, I would say at least once a month, I have a new agent. I don't know how they find out about me, but they'll reach out and say, hey, can I buy you coffee? Can we have lunch? I tell people that if you're a new broker, be a sponge. Go and host open houses for the best brokers in your office. Go and volunteer to sit at an inspection and walk with the inspector to see everything he or she is saying. So you know that, hey, this hot water tank, it's 10 years old. It's in the garage. It probably could last a little bit longer, but if it's in the upstairs for some reason, you better be sure to change it out sooner rather than later, because that leak is going to cause a lot of damage moving forward. And so the other thing I tell people to do is go to showrooms, go to Soto and go walk into every single cabinet, tile, countertop store. Find out what things cost. Hey, what's a porcelain sink basin cost? Is it $5? Is it $500? If you don't know that, your client doesn't know that. So you need to do your due diligence. Go and spend a day at Home Depot and literally walk through every single aisle and say, hey, here is this type of lighting. This is how much it costs. Hey, each subway tile costs 18 cents. That doesn't seem like a lot. 18 cents doesn't mean anything. You got to talk to those contractors and say, what's my labor cost, right? So knowing certain dynamics of the real estate process will not only make you sound educated, but you'll learn about what our industry is. You have to know that because, again, this market, it's so robust for sellers. It's, we're our buyers are going in and bidding $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 above asking to get these homes, and these homes have deferred maintenance, and they're putting so much of their money into a potentially low appraisal. They're putting so much more money into. They don't want their mortgage to be so expensive. They're putting more down, but it needs a new roof. Well, what does a new roof cost? A 3-tab versus a presidential roof, composition roof versus a metal roof versus a torch down or a TPO roof. All these things, I see you smiling because I know you know what that means, but a lot of our listeners probably don't. And if you're not going out there and getting bids, again, talk to the brokers that need coverage, and they may not pay you anything in dollars and cents, but that information that you're able to obtain by meeting a actual contractor on site and saying, hey, let me pick your brain while you're walking through this. Hey, what would it cost to add another bathroom in here? Hey, what's the difference between galvanized plumbing and copper and PEX? Most agents, honestly, if you're listening to this, probably don't know what the difference is if you're brand new. So you need to go and find that out. You need to go look at that, learn about it, and say, okay, what is it going to take for this 1,800 square foot house to remodel it with new electrical and plumbing and new electrical panel, a new roof, double pane windows. Here's a tidbit of information. My inspector used to be an energy auditor, and he tells me that if you ever go to a home and you see a single pane window home, you want to change it to vinyl windows because of comfort, because of heat, because of savings. It will take you 35 years to get that energy savings for what that window costs. I literally changed a window that is no bigger than this. I got a bid yesterday for it. It broke, and it's going to cost almost $600 just to get that window replaced.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know that as a real estate broker, as your client, your friend, your family member's agent, this is what it costs. And to walk them through the process. And I tell people, hey, this house is going to cost 30K to change out the windows. They're like, 30K to change out windows? Windows aren't that expensive. Like, no, they are. You're going to have to paint and put new trim in and change this and change that. And again, it's one of those things that we're the educator. We're the teacher through this process, and they expect, they demand, they need us to be able to inform them of what to do, when to do it, how much things cost. The deferred maintenance aspect of it. Again, you see houses that all the time you're like, this thing needs paint. We're paying a premium for it, but it needs extra to get painted. And it's cedar siding. Cedar is naturally waterproof, but it's still porous. So you need to clog those pores with paint. If you're not doing that, then you see the warping, you see the brittle and the breaking and the water damage, all that stuff. Well, you should paint your house every 5 to 7 years, minimum. But people don't know that. Agents don't say that. And again, it's our job to kind of walk them through that, not kind of, but to walk them through that process and give them real life value, to give them quotes on what it's going to cost to do X, Y, Z. I have clients, 5, 10 years, I sold them a place and they're like, hey, Henry, come take a look at my place. What do I need to do? Henry, give me your referrals for painters, contractors, flooring guys, this and that. Well, absolutely. We have to be that resource for our clients now and moving forward if we want to have longevity in this career.
I love it. I recently was talking to a client who was talking about changing her windows out and telling her the same thing. This is how much it costs. And then saying to her, if it were me, because you're not going to see those savings back for many, many, many years, I would invest in solar instead. So that the energy costs that you're getting, the sun can pay your bill instead of you paying a big bill for windows and really not seeing that return for many years. So it's that sort of expertise, right, that you're bringing to your clients. That's great.
Absolutely.
Before we move on to the next question, just to clarify something, it sounds like learning the business, the product is homes, right? And getting in there, learning from inspections, being at Home Depot, you gave a lot of information about that, which is awesome. Sort of the other side of this coin, if you will, is to say there's a personal side, there's a people side. So the product is our home, but even you could know everything there is about homes and still not have a successful real estate business. So talk for a minute about how you invest in people and how those two come together.
Yeah, so that's another great topic of discussion. I think you're hitting on things where I'm like, oh, this is a great question. And just so everyone knows, I had no idea these questions were coming, so Jennifer's throwing them at me left and right on the fly, and that's probably the best way to get an organic response. So in terms of the personal side of it, for me, again, a lot of my clients are people that I already know. They're friends, they're family members, people I grew up with, and so there's that level of responsibility that I have as a real estate broker to them. And I don't care, again, if it's a $300,000 first time home buyer or a $3 million second, third, fourth, 10th home. We have to have that professional relationship, and you also have to have that personal relationship. And what I always do when we look at homes, whether it's buying or selling, but in this case, buying homes, I always tell my clients that I will always be professional and tell you my 2 cents of what I would do as a real estate broker. But I also tell them that I will never filter how I feel personally, because I need you to see both sides of the story.
Mm-hmm.
You may not care that it's on a busy street. The professional side of me says it's going to be harder for resale down the road, especially if the market shifts. Right now, you could be next to a cemetery, you could be on the busiest street in the world. It'll all sell. It'll all sell. But if the market corrects itself, if it shifts, if there's a downturn, whatever it is, those are the homes that will be stagnant, and you'll have to either do a price reduction, be less expensive than the neighboring home that isn't next to a cemetery, whatever it may be. But say we're on a busy street. You don't care as the buyer. I will tell you, hey, you have a dog. Hey, you have a baby. You have whatever. What about the personal side of it? Are you going to feel safe if that door is unlatched, God forbid, and your dog, your puppy gets out of the house? Your kid is on their bicycle on a busy street.
Mm-hmm.
I think about that now. I'm a first-time dad now. I'm a new dad, and I never really got that dynamic of what it was to be a parent. I saw it, I had the empathy for it, but I didn't know really what it was to be a parent. And I tried to put myself in those shoes, and now I see things so much differently of oh, okay, this handrail is really low. What are we going to do about Sally and John that are 4 years old and 5 years old? Like, hey, if you want to buy this house, that's great, but we need a contractor here ASAP because this is a hazard. We need to look at those things. And so I try to put myself in their shoes, both as a buyer, as an investor, as a human being. Because if I don't have ownership of what they're doing and what they're buying, they, again, as first time home buyers, have no idea what they're doing. They just love seeing new, shiny, clean. They could be, again, a veteran in the market and this is their 17th rental, this and that. But if I know this area and I'm an expert in, Queen Anne, if I know that there's something that they won't like in this neighborhood, I need to disclose that to them. I need to teach them. I need to walk them through it because I live in Queen Anne, because I know this area and I go on walks every day, twice a day with my family. And these are the things I see on a daily basis. It's hard because you only want to be a professional for your clients because that's what they want, but you also need to be a human to share those same experiences that you have as a person, as an individual, to get them on the same page. And again, I always tell my clients, like, you're the boss, you're always right, but you're using me to give you insight. You're using me to help provide those holes that you thought you knew or didn't know about. You need someone to fill those in. And then at that point, I could say, I've said this to my clients, and I've actually had this happen multiple times where I'm like, this is way too much money. You should not buy this home. I wouldn't pay this much for it. And they're like, Henry, we respect your professional opinion. You told us how much it costs to remodel, do this and that. My mom lives 6 blocks away. I want my kid to go to Ballard High School. I have friends that live 2 blocks away. I didn't tell you this. I'm pregnant with a kid. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Money is money, but the value of having friends and family in that area, I wasn't privy to that until that point.
Mhm.
Like, oh, that makes so much more sense. They're like, Henry, they told me, one of my clients, they said, we are not going to sell this house. You will not hear from us regarding real estate until we actually retire and go to a nursing home because we want our kid to go to school here. We want them to go to UW, et cetera, et cetera. Like, when we're ready to sell, it's when we're going to go to nursing home. So hopefully you're still working. It's like, fair enough. I had no idea. And you got to do what you got to do. And it's just one of those things that, again, that's that personal aspect. You take it as professional, but you still have to have that ear to the personal side of it because everyone has a story. Everyone has a rhyme and reason to why they're moving and why they're coming to Seattle, or why they're getting downsizing or buying a bigger home. And so that's the personal side that, again, you got to twist it into a little bit of professional, but we all have to be humans at the end of the day.
I love it. That's great. Really good info there. I love that your example of the children's names were Sally and Tom. And I was like Dick and Jane. I just went back to like,
Yeah.
Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
what I think is important for here, and that is the product is homes, but the majority of our business is about people. And so we're trying to find them a home that fits for whatever needs they have. But at the end of the day, we want them to be happy, fulfilled, near grandkids, right? Getting what they want. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to hear a funny story that you can think of. And I did give you a little prep on this one, but maybe you'll
Yeah.
think of another one off the top of your head. But you're in real estate. There's crazy stuff that happens in this business every day. So give me just something crazy that's happened that you can think of right off the top of your head.
I've had agents, try and twist my arm and say, oh, we've got multiple offers, and they have none, and they want us to come in with a higher offer than list price. I'm just like, why would I ever do that?
Mhm.
That's not funny. I think it's almost like borderline on that unethical, but that,
That's
and
crazy.
again,
Sure, that's crazy, but okay. Yep.
I mean, I had a crazy story. This is probably when I was still, I want to say it was probably either right before I transitioned from commercial real estate to residential, or maybe right afterwards. But I was in a house in North Seattle, and it was a dilapidated older home. But I was looking at it, I was like, oh, this could be a good remodel flip project. I was there by myself, and main floor was okay, not a big deal. Go downstairs, it's unfinished, creepy basement. Then I look around, and there's pictures of clowns, right? That's creepy. Downstairs, barely lit basement, that, and walk around. It was no good. It was I started getting the heebie-jeebies a little bit.
Ah.
And then I think I got to the back of the basement, and it was one of those giant old refrigerators. Part of me is like, okay, I gotta be a man. I gotta be a tough guy. Let's just open it and see what's in there. I thought about it literally for a couple minutes. I'm like, still looking around. I'm like, can I do this? And it's like, nope, I'm out. Just leave. Not worth it. Just in case. Too many horror films. I'm out. So that was kind of, I don't know if it's funny, but it's kind of scary. I was like, yeah, not gonna do that again.
No, there's clowns in that fridge. We don't know.
Exactly.
Okay, another question for you. So we've tackled a little bit of I'm a brand new agent, but now I want you to speak just for a minute to people who say, Henry, I've been doing this for 3 to 5, 7, 10, I don't know, years. And I've sort of stayed at this same level of income and this same kind of transaction, amount every year. And I just can't seem to get myself up over this hill to be really, really cruising in real estate. What do you think that you could tell them to do, think about, whatever, to get them to the next level?
Okay, that's another strong question. So I've had this conversation. I actually think we might have even had something like this on the forum that we did previously.
Mm-hmm.
When you're making enough money, good money, but you want to take it to the next level, how do you do that? And how do you do it efficiently? I think one of the biggest game changers for me professionally was utilizing social media.
Mm.
It's free. I mean, you can spend for, ad clicks, all that other stuff. But I noticed that I had way too many friends buying and selling homes, not through me.
Mm.
And I was just like, why are they not working with me? And, I just reach out and say, oh, congratulations. And they're like, oh my gosh, Henry, I forgot that you're a real estate agent.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were selling real estate. And so what I've done, and I've taught many of my agent friends the same thing, is that be excited and proud that you've sold real estate.
Mm.
Put it on your Instagram, your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever it is, and post that, hey, I just closed on this house. It may be a little douchey, whatever, but we're making a living, right? And people want to know that they're working with successful people. That's really, I think, I had friends that didn't use me because they didn't think I could handle the 7-figure selling point. They see that I'm selling 7-figure homes, $1, $2, $3 million homes. They're like, oh, Henry, we'd love to work with you. I mean, I had a friend last year. I sold 2 of his homes last year, and he's just like, I just didn't know if you could handle this price point. It's like, okay, well, again, he saw that I was selling so much real estate in that 7-figure range that he's like, okay, Henry, we can go work with you this time.
Mm.
So leveraging social media, being present in people's lives, because again, Jennifer, we're friends in real life and we're friends in real estate and we're friends on social media. I have a mix of Theo. I used to really be into food. I still love going to sporting events. Obviously, me and my wife doing things in real estate. I try to balance it because I still see nowadays a lot of brokers, all they do is put real estate. That's
Mm-hmm.
annoying. You would, get on hide right away for me as well. So I want to see you as a human being, you as a person, but I'm actually so excited to see my friends that are real estate brokers selling homes. I'm like, oh my gosh, they sold this house in this neighborhood. How'd you get so much for it? Like, you're proud of your peers. And a lot of our friends online and social media are real estate agents, but also, I've got tons of real life friends. I mean, I've grown up here my whole life, went to school in the North End, went to school at UW. I have all my Wazoo Western friends, all of Julia's friends from Mercer Island and her church, all this stuff. So I have a really big network now, but not everyone knows what I do. And to be front of mind, I think helps a lot. And that's an easy way to get out there for free.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, your friend that you haven't seen since college, since high school for 2-3 years because of COVID, they forgot about you selling real estate. They forgot that you're a successful broker. They forgot that you focus on the neighborhood that you live in. And so doing that is great. I always tell people like that's one way to do it, and that's social media. That's fun. It's kind of saturated, it's flooded with agents, all that stuff. And again, it is what it is. The other thing I always tell people, always tell agents, new or old, if you need more business, the cheapest way to get new business is open houses.
Mm.
A lot of agents don't like to share their open houses. For me personally, professionally, I don't do open houses. I would rather go tour homes with my clients on the weekend than do an open house because I don't ever double end deals. That's not in our MO. That's not my MO. I don't want to be the listing agent and the selling agent because I feel like fiduciary duty is out the window because who am I really representing? So I want other people to do my open houses because they bring their agent friends. They bring their buyer pool to that place because of course people are going to see it on my social media. Of course they're going to do my clients and my friends are all going to see that place. Great. But the other agents hosting it at all these different offices, at Scout, at Compass, at Windermere, all those places. Okay, if that agent comes and they have some clout, they're going to bring their clients in, they're going to bring their agents in. So that's always exciting. And more so, if you're an agent that needs more business, Seattle, what used to be all locals, is now majority transplants.
Mm-hmm.
My client list right now, off the top of my head, I'm helping someone in Austin, DC, California. I've got somebody else from the Midwest. People are coming from everywhere. It doesn't matter, work from home, COVID. People want to come to Seattle. People still love the nature. They love the water, the mountains, the hiking, the skiing, the snowboarding, all the things that Seattle has to provide. Our jobs, I mean, again, whether you think they're staying in Seattle or moving to Bellevue or Kirkland or Redmond, we have the biggest and best companies in the world in our backyard. We have one of the top, I think the top school in the world at UW, but we have, they're great at computer science, doctors, dentists, everything you think of, it's a great school for it in America. And so you have so many transplants coming in. Right now, there's, a moratorium in Canada where if you're not a Canadian citizen, you can't buy land. I think it's a 2-year moratorium. I don't know if it's actually been passed yet, but been talked about. But a handful of years ago, they did the head tax in Canada was 10% if you weren't a Canadian citizen. The following year, they raised it to 15%. All that international money that was invested in Vancouver came down to Seattle. That's why you saw that huge influx of Chinese buyers coming out here and saying, hey, we'll pay cash in Seattle, Bellevue, everything like that. So you have the Pacific Rim coming in. You have all the jobs. I mean, I've helped so many people from Target that moved to Amazon because they're from Minnesota where Target's headquarters is. They're coming over here because Amazon's paying them 2 times, 3 times as much. All these jobs are out here and these people don't know who to ask. They literally Google and look for an agent. If you're charismatic, if you know what you're talking about, if you know what the comps are selling for in any given neighborhood that you want to focus on, those buyers that don't have agents want to work with you. You can't be, pushy used car salesman. You can't be, just think that people are going to come to you. And I go to open houses all the time with my clients because there's no time to look at places. And the agent is literally just head down on their computer or on their phone.
Totally.
If you're going to do it, honestly, spend the time to introduce yourself to every person. And I have when I do open houses, I have the low key, let me give you my spiel about the house. It's awesome. It's beautiful. Hey, I can't represent you on this house. I'll tell them that right off the bat. Make that situation easier for them to ask me questions and just about the neighborhood, whatever it is. I get people all the time saying, hey, can I have your business card? Can we talk? I'd love to pick your brain about this neighborhood and this and that. Having the insight when you're actually doing the open houses, don't do them if you're not going to actually utilize what it's for.
Totally.
To meet new people. But again, nowadays, these open houses have 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're crazy. They're zoos. And if you could find 2 or 3 leads there and nurture those and take them out to coffee or dinner, drinks, whatever it is, to see if you can help them out, that's free business. Literally just your time. And a lot of brokers have time. They don't have money. So they can't do the SEO targeting ads. They can't, put their name in the papers or Zillow, whatever it is. But if you've got the time and it hones in on your skill set, whether you're new or a veteran of 4 or 5 years, you need to get in with the lingo. You need to see what these kids are buying. You got to see what the, retirees are looking for. A lot of my clients, I'm almost 40, and a few of my clients that have been referred the last couple of weeks, mid-20s looking at 7-figure homes.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're going to Amazon and they're getting RSUs. They're going to Google and Facebook and getting $200,000-$300,000 signing bonus. I'm like, wow, that is nuts. Even to me as like a professional, I make good money, whatever it is. Like some of these people do laps around me, and I've been in my industry for 18 years.
Mm-hmm.
They're just out of college and they're a computer science engineer, they're a programmer, they're this and that. And like, holy cow, that's insane. And there's so many directors out there and VPs and startups. And so you never know who you're going to meet. And so I love that dynamic of it. As the world kind of gets a little bit normal, be social again. I promise that every conversation, dinner, baseball game, hockey game I go to, at some point, or the whole conversation circles back to real estate.
That's so true.
Everyone asks us about real estate. They know that you're a professional, you've been doing it for a long time, you sell a lot of real estate. They're like, what do you think is going to happen? What about these interest rates?
Mm-hmm.
Inflation going to, pop the bubble? What's going on? This and that. It's like, here's my 2 cents. You've got to know real life events. You have to know about the Ukraine and Russia war and gas price. You have to know that CPI came out 2 weeks ago and inflation for March was 8.5%. You have to know rates are, north of 5% right now. But if you know what you're talking about, people will right off the bat say, I should give Henry and Jennifer a shot. These guys know what they're talking about. I trust them. They're selling a lot of real estate. So again, it kind of goes back to educate yourself about what things cost, what the market's doing, certain neighbors that you want to focus on, and then take that into an open house. And again, strangers that don't know you. I remember I had an open house in Kenmore. Someone staged with me for the full 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
Just talking to me. I was like, hey, sorry, I gotta say hi to these people. I had to come back to them. They're like asking me questions, and they're like, hey, will you work with me? I'm like, I'm so busy right now. Honestly, if I could, I would. But here's my card. Call me, ask me any questions. They text me and email me. And I didn't end up working with them, but they wanted to. But I was just so busy at that point. But it literally for 3 hours, they stayed there and just picked my brain about the market.
Yeah.
People love that. People want an unbiased opinion. And I think, honestly, a lot of people at open houses, if you say, I can't represent you on this house, they put their guard down. And that's not to say this is an easy person to go after, but they just know that you are helping them to help them. When you're genuine about your feelings and how to be a good person and a good broker, that's when people at that trust level begin. So
I just want to summarize because so many good morsels in there. It's fun to listen to you talk because you have great stories and you're sort of talking about everything that matters and how you're successful. But just for the listeners, I want to summarize for a minute. I think one thing, Henry, you do so well is on social media, you do keep it not just about real estate. And so it is super easy to hide anybody who's like, look at me, I sold 89 houses and I'm captain's list and whatever, I don't know, all the accolades, right? But someone who says, I just help my good friends and here's the process. You're great at telling the story of that buyer or seller. And it's way more engaging than look at me, I sold another house. So you do a great job at that. So utilize and leverage social media. Yeah. And then another morsel you said, I think, which was great, was if you're going to do an open house, make good use of that 4 to 5 hour of time block that you're giving away. So you're taking away time from your family or just from relaxing or whatever it is you're doing on a normal Sunday afternoon. If you're going to do it right and show up, make good use of that time, leverage those hours, make good connections with people at that open house, give your expertise away. So I love that. And then the last thing you said, I think, which was great, is also just let's get human again, right? Let's come back out of a pandemic and utilize the socialness that we get to have now to obviously the conversation turns regularly to real estate. And when it does, have something to say of value. And don't just say, oh my gosh, it's a crazy market, because we hear that all the time. And it is a little bit of a bananas market right now, but that doesn't mean that you're not successful in it. And so having something more to say than, wow, it's nuts out there, is worth something that someone will listen to. So thank you for everything you said. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's two more questions, but the last question right now is, I would love to hear your prediction, if you'd be so bold, in your crystal ball. What's going to happen with real estate in the next 12 months? If you're predicting this from your standpoint, I'd love to hear it.
All of my clients and all of my friends and all of my peers ask me their 2 cents. I think the next 12 months I follow the stock market, I follow crypto, I follow current events, I follow gas prices, all that stuff. I look at it. And right now, what I'm seeing in the real estate market is there's still lots of bidding wars, but those bidding wars are for homes that are in a great location, that have been remodeled nicely, have some kind of view. If you're just a whatever house, you still will sell, but it won't be the 40, 50% some of my listings have sold for this past year. So you have that dynamic because I think people are scared right now of interest rates being at 5%. There's talk that from some of the lenders I work with, and that we could see it get to 6%. I think that the buyer pool that is a million and below is really starting to feel that. They're saying, "Oh, I have to pay an extra $200 a month, $300 a month. Can I do it? Yes. Is it going to stretch me thin? Kind of. I like to go out to dinners and vacations and etc." And so that buyer pool is scared. And so I think that's going to be something to be really cognizant about if you're a seller. If you're a buyer, again, interest rates, at least what it looks like and what all my lenders are saying, is that we're going to continue to see a rise. And so that could obviously hurt our market. The buyers that are a million and above, a lot of them, again, they just have so much wealth. They have so much capital that does it hurt them? Sure, but that's them not buying a bottle of wine. And so they don't see it as much. And I don't say that in a bad way because, sure, they made their money, they earned it, whatever, good for them. They have the ability to spend more and it hurts a little bit less. But you collectively see that people are like, okay, at what point is this bidding war that I was willing to get into last year, early this year, when rates were 3%, 3.5%, to now I'm paying so much more for the same home. Oh, okay, what do I do? I think what you're going to see is that the bidding wars are going to go like this. They're going to go like this. And so even if your rate's higher, you're like, well, actually, that's not bad because I would have paid that much anyway. Because I was willing 3 months ago to pay $500,000 above asking price for it. So you have that part of it. I think that the stock market is doing this right now. I mean, today Netflix dropped 35%, over $100. Shopify and all these stock companies, or these companies that have stock that these high valuations. I've got clients that are in tech. I've got a client that's in Uber, and he was here at $65 last year. Now it's at 30s. It hurts the bottom line. And so I think depending on what happens with our economy, and I can't remember where I read this at, but I think it was Business Week or something like a blurb from JP Morgan. They were saying that Europe and Asia will see a recession end of this year, early next year, just because of supply chain, because their businesses, again, the lockdown, all these different things are catching up to them. They were saying initially that the US was going to be fine because we have our own supply chain now. We've shifted enough of it locally that we're not going to feel the crunch that some of the other countries are because of the foresight we had in terms of seeing what was happening. A lot of those analysts had said we're now potentially going to see a recession at the end of 2023. If that happens, obviously that's going to change the market. I'll go back to what I was saying a minute ago about why people are coming to Seattle, why people are coming to Washington, is because jobs, jobs, jobs. These jobs are very high-paying jobs. These jobs are harder to fill right now, so people are getting paid even more for them. And so I think that just like the market crash in that 2009, give or take timeline, we saw our Seattle market go like this, but it spiked right back up, while the rest of the country went like this and slowly spiked back up. We, I feel like, have a lot bigger of a runway because of our commerce, our e-commerce specifically, between the local Amazons. Boeing's not doing great stock-wise, but we have the Boeings, we have REI, we have Expedia, and then we have Google and Facebook, Apple, all of these massive tech companies. We had Tableau that was just acquired by Salesforce. They're expanding their workforce. I mean, these are all high six-figure jobs that are coming into Seattle, and they're poaching them from other areas. And these people are getting compensated well to purchase this real estate. It might be a sticker shock to them that they have to pay $1 million for a starter home, but they're getting paid 2x, 3x of what they were making before, and their real estate was $600K. So for them, that doesn't make a difference at all. They actually have more money in their pocket. I've seen a huge influx of my listings late last year, where they were buyers from California that they sold their homes for so much that they don't even have jobs in Seattle yet, but they're paying for it in cash because they bought their house for 500,000 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They sold it for four. They came out with $3.5 million. They bought a house for 2 million in cash, and they still have $1.5 million to do whatever they want with. And so, again, this economy that we're in, there's just so much money running around, and so um, I feel like I don't want to say that we're bulletproof in Seattle and Washington, but I think that we have a little bit of a life vest in terms of what's in our backyard. We have so many startups. We have so much great e-commerce out here, such high-paying jobs that I think the macro, we may see a shift eventually if there's a recession. I think the micro, our Puget Sound area, we may see a blip, but I think it'll actually, right now we're like this. I think our stabilization is going to be like this. I don't think we're going to go down. There's just too much demand out there right now. And, people are like, oh, there's so much more inventory coming on. It's the April to December inventory, or May to September. That's buying and selling season. That's when kids are out of school in June, so their parents are okay with listing their houses in May. And for summer, that's why you see the most influx of single-family homes in that time period. And so this is normal for our business. This is May to September, summer vacation for kids. That's when you see single-family homes come on the market. So I don't think this is, oh, people are scared to death. We have to sell right now. I'm sure there's people like that as well. But I think it's a scenario that the next 12 months, I think we're probably going to be pretty stable. I still think there's a ton of buyers I'm working with, my peers, you, everyone else, that we have more buyers than listings. And I think that, again, the bidding wars may not be as crazy, but now we know what the price is. And we're going to follow that line because the last 4 months had it go like this, and now we know what pricing is. And so, again, someone may pay a crazy amount for a house, but that might be the outlier where everyone else is paying X number instead. And so, again, that's the due diligence as Jennifer Nelson being your broker. She knows that this is what the real price is. These are outliers. This is an outlier. So this is what we have to pay for it. And that's, why we are who we are. We'll tell them and say, hey, this is worth way more. They underpriced it. Get ready for a big bidding war. And it's not that you're overpaying for it. They underpriced it by a ton. Or vice versa. Hey, this is actually priced really high because they're probably scared that they're not getting a bidding war. So that's their floor now. So we can watch this and make an offer after if it does go into contract on the review date, or we can put our hat in the ring and say, okay, we're willing to pay a little bit of a premium knowing that we're going to get this place. A lot more agents, I don't know if you've experienced this at all, but I'd say in the last 2 weeks, a lot more agents are calling, emailing, texting, following up and saying, hey, are you going to write an offer? January, February, no one called because like, I don't want more offers. I already have 40, and so I think a lot of agents are like, oh, we may have overestimated how much activity we're going to get on the place. You hear about open houses still being a zoo, and then nope, no offers. What happened? So I think, again, very convoluted, long, and I'm talking too much, but I think for the next year we're pretty good space still. Good. I think that if we see a bigger war in Ukraine, Russia, and NATO gets involved, if there's the Taiwan-Chinese war, if the stock market collapses, quantitative easing, quantitative tightening. There's so many things right now that we have no control over in Seattle, in Washington. But as things stand right now, everything is kind of priced in. Everyone knows what's happening. But if there's a new point that shoots the market up or down, we'll feel it in real estate. But it's usually the economy goes down first, and then real estate follows. So you got to keep an eye out on what's happening, globally, domestically, the micro, the macro, to say, okay, all right, we're seeing stock prices come down. We're seeing businesses close down, whatever it may be. Then real estate will follow afterwards. But it's a 6 to 12 months leash behind of that. So it's just, I think I don't know if you do this, and again, this is a mini tangent, but I tell my clients that they might tell me 3 months in advance, 2 months in advance, a month in advance, I want to sell my place. I said, I don't want to give you a price until the Wednesday before we list on Friday. Totally. So 2 days before we list. I was like, because something could spike the price up and we don't want to start too low. Something could crater the price down. We start too high, we're not going to sell the place. And so I literally tell people, and I do my marketing 2 days before. I have it all set up, but the price never goes in there, and I don't send it to the print shop or online until that Wednesday before I list, because who knows what's going to happen today? Who knows what comp's going to sell? Who knows? You could have 1 million offers come in and someone finds out about your listing and you say, oh, here you go. And then you change that price because you know that people are going to pay more for it. or you
It's
want
so
to start lower.
I remember on that same forum we've referenced a couple times last year, Kristen Meyer of Sweet Living called it the market of the week. And I thought that was fair. And I think we could even say now the market of the day, right?
Yeah.
This is the market today, and tomorrow that might look different. So great.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. Thank you. I really appreciate your answer. And for those of you on the call that have not had the privilege of working with Henry, I hope you do. My journey with Henry started years ago when we did our first transaction, I think in 2005 or six, I can't remember, and have since been good comrades in this business. And I respect you a lot. I think you have shown the knowledge that you bring and the value that you bring to this business. And it's obvious to me, at least, and I'm sure to the listeners, why you are as successful as you are. So a huge congrats again to you. And Henry, just thank you for your time today on the call and for giving us all of these great nuggets to kind of think about and marinate on. So appreciate your time.
Yeah, Jennifer. I mean, the platforms that you provide to our peers is amazing. I think you deserve a pat on the back yourself. I mean, the things that you've brought me on to and just to teach me and educate me as well. I mean, there's so much information out there and we have no way of getting to it. And this platform, this podcast, I mean, kudos to you. It's just, I'm excited, awesome. To hear this one, the ones in the future, and continued success to you and your team.
Thank you so much for listening into Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.